Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Jacksonville Buzz. I am your host, Adrienne Houghton, and alongside me in the studio is my trusted steed, Tom Reber. And we're lucky enough to have Mr. Gary Frankovich in the studio with us today, and he's an accredited marine surveyor. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
So, did you always want to mess around with boats?
I think I've always messed around with boats. I grew up on a lake in a state park in Ohio. My father built his own little fishing boats, so I can remember every spring caulking. And of course it was my job when we rolled it into the water to come down and bail it out all the time until the seam swelled up. So since then, you know, rowboats to motorboats. First sailboat was, they're called coffee cup sailboats. It was styrofoam.
Wow. Oh my
It was just
goodness.
a styrofoam, maybe 9-foot boat with an aluminum pole and a lateen sail and
That's how you learn.
it was great. It was freedom.
Yes.
You could get on that lake and go, and you always had an excuse when you were late coming home.
True sailor.
Right? Yeah.
So, as an accredited marine surveyor, what services do you actually offer?
Well, we do pre-purchase inspections if you're going to buy a used boat or a new boat, even, especially if they're a little bit larger new boats. Because, you know, even though boats cost a lot of money, the guys that actually build them are making $27 an hour. So you have to look, and they come out. I used to do a lot of boats right at the lures factory when they came out. It was nice to get them fixed right there. They're under warranty, but you get them like that, the dealer doesn't have to deal with it.
Awesome.
But we do pre-purchase, which is if you want to buy it, you know, we're going to do it for the insurance company, for the bank. They all require it nowadays.
So it's a bit like a home inspection.
It's a bit like a home inspection, but I think it's a lot more thorough. It certainly takes longer, and the report is much longer. I mean, you basically have a house that floats on the water and moves sometimes at great speed. So you have to go through it all, and it has to be. We inspect it to U.S. Coast Guard, right? Yep. National Fire Protection Association, and the American Boat and Yacht Council standards. Wow. Now, the Coast Guard is law. ABYC are standards. They're recommended practices. But they're the standards that American boats are expected to be built by. So if you're in court and something happened and the manufacturer didn't do it to ABYC standards, or whoever repaired it didn't do it to ABYC standards, you lose.
Is that the same as European standards? I mean,
they're a little bit different. More bureaucracy. The ISO, they're called the ISO standards in Europe. In Europe, you know, a little more bureaucracy involved. But basically, they're very similar. They're different, of course. You have different. For instance, here, seacocks, which are the valves below the waterline, they're expected to last virtually the life of the boat. The ISO standards say it has to last 5 years. So let me tell you, they last 5 years, and then you have to replace them, just like the warranty on a car and anything else.
Right.
So yeah, everybody's a little different. Canada, Transport Canada, has actually taken ABYC and made it law, put it into their thing, and everything in ABYC is law in Canada.
Oh, well, I mean, that kind of makes sense, though, doesn't it?
It
Because, I mean,
does.
it's a huge purchase, a boat.
It's probably the second biggest purchase anybody makes.
Besides the house.
Even now, you know, 25-foot little fishing boats, 120 grand.
Yeah.
It's
Do
a
you
lot of
work
money.
with sailboats as well as motorboats?
I do many sailboats. I was a sailor. I've sailed thousands of miles, lots of single-handed miles, with anti-crossings. So yeah, I do a lot of sailboats. I don't go up the mast anymore.
Smart.
Don't think I bounce very good anymore, so
I don't
just
think
send
I'd
that to
go
a
up the mast
rigger.
anymore
It's also
either.
about insurance, of course. You know, riggers insurance is expensive. It would be one more insurance I would have to buy, and I don't go up the mast every day, so I just send them to a rigger. It's you know, I send it to a rigger, I send it to an electrician, get an engine surveyor, get a specialist.
Do you have a favorite or a most trusted brand that builds to higher quality? Is there anything to that myth?
No, I would. Well, of course. I mean, you get what you pay for.
Exactly.
There's no doubt about it.
Okay.
Right. There's no doubt about it. However, even when you buy an inexpensive boat, if you treat it right, it'll treat you right.
Right.
You know, you can't buy. I don't want to go into brands here. That's kind of a no-no, you know, in my business.
course.
But if you bought the lower valued, let's say 30-foot cabin cruiser, that's going to be fine if you use the boat for what it was intended to be used for. If you want to take it out Holliver Inlet at 25 knots when it's 8 feet,
That's not good.
it's not good.
Not good.
That's right. If you're going to take it out offshore to fish, and it's a bay boat.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear about people getting all this trouble. Normally, they're taking a bay boat out through the Mayport, and they get in trouble because that's not what it was built for.
Now you mentioned something before the off air about that you wanted to make an announcement about.
You know, I just like everybody to know about the Society of Accredited Marine Surveyors.
Yeah.
It was actually founded in Maine, but we have the international office here in Jacksonville.
Oh, wow.
And it's most banks and virtually all insurance companies now require that a survey be conducted by either a member of the Society of Accredited Marine Surveyors, or the other one is the National Association of Marine Surveyors.
Gotcha.
And we have education requirements. You have to get continuing education.
Good.
You have to attend the meetings.
Yep.
You know, we have an ethics panel, ethics committee, which as the executive vice president, I'm the chairman of that committee. So if a surveyor that is a member of our organization messes up, let's say, and the person wants to file a written complaint, we'll appoint a panel. I will appoint 3 other AMSs, and we'll study it. And you know, it can be serious. He could lose his accreditation, be kicked out of SAMS, and not be able to get back in if it's serious enough. He could be suspended, could be a letter of censure. And
it's interesting to know that the headquarters are here.
Yeah.
yeah, nobody knows that, but we're the largest yacht and craft in the world.
Well, thank you for coming in. I mean,
and so if you bought a boat,
yes.
if you want to survey, be sure it's the SAMS guy.
Yeah.
There are people out there who claim to be SAMS,
Yeah.
accredited marine surveyors, and some of them aren't.
Yeah.
So
Can you ask to see their credentials?
you could. We have
There
a
we go.
card. Yeah, we have a
There we
card.
go.
There you
But
go.
you can also go to the Society's website, which is
And they will say things
marinesurvey.org. And if they're not, and that is updated by the minute, basically.
We're being told we got to wrap this up, and we could have carried
We
on
could have
for
gone
another
on.
10 minutes.
Yes.
All right.
But Gary, it's an
Anyway.
absolute pleasure to have you in the studio.
Great
Thank
job.
you.
Anyway, all right. Thank you very much for having me.
And don't forget, if you'd like to know any more information about Gary Frankovich and marine accredited surveying, you could find it on dailynewsnetwork.com.